Welcome to another lesson on cohesion. In discourse analysis, we are still looking at cohesion and we're still looking at the different types of cohesive devices. So, in the last lesson, we were looking at reference as a cohesive device. In this lesson, we're looking at ellipsis as a cohesive device. Now, in this video, I'm only going to be making reference to one particular book, and that is Halliday and Hassan's Cohesion in English. So all the information that we're getting in this video is coming from Halliday and Hassan's Cohesion in English. Let's continue. What is ellipsis? One might ask. So ellipsis, as Merriam-Webster would define it, or ellipsis is the omission of one or more words that are obviously understood, but that must be supplied to make a construction grammatically complete. That is what Merriam-Webster defines ellipsis. Ellipsis is something that is understood, okay, and understood in a special sense that it goes without saying. So when we talk about ellipsis, we're simply talking about words that go without saying. When you hear people make this reference, when you hear people saying it goes without saying, meaning I don't have to say it, it is already known, okay? And that is what ellipsis is. So in a sentence, you have certain words that are omitted. You'd have certain words that are omitted, okay, whereby the speaker has omitted that particular word, knowing that the listener already understood. So it's I understand what I'm saying, and I know that the person who's listening understands what I'm supposed to be putting in the word in the gap that I've omitted. Okay, so this sort of serves as a sort of way in which we are being economical with words. Okay, we're referring to clauses and sentences and words whose structure is presupposed, okay, whose structure is such as to presuppose some preceding item, which of course serves as the source of the missing information. Now an elliptical item is one which leaves specific structural slots to be filled from elsewhere. And who fills it? Obviously it is the listener or the reader. Halliday and Hassan define ellipsis in relation to another important cohesive device that we haven't looked at, that we're definitely going to look at in the upcoming lessons. That is substitution. Okay, since of course they embody the same fundamental relations, that is. So Halliday and Hassan define ellipsis as substitution by zero. So you are making a substitution, but instead of putting something, you're simply removing and not putting back something. You're not putting something else. That is why they're saying substitution by zero. When you're substituting, you're removing one word and replacing it with another. Okay, but in ellipsis, we are simply removing and not making any replacement. So we are not replacing anything. That is, ellipsis is substitution by zero. That is what Halliday and Hassan meant when they said it is ellipsis. Ellipsis is substitution by zero. Now, we remember when we were talking about referencing, we looked at certain specific categories of reference, that is anaphoric, cataphoric, and exophoric. Well, in ellipsis, we have them as well. And since we defined and exhausted these things in the previous lesson, we're not going to go through it again, except in this case. In ellipsis, anaphoric, cataphoric, and exophoric work in this manner. So I'm in anaphoric, obviously, there's a sentence. There's a sentence. In the first part of the sentence, I do not mention it. I do not mention something. I leave it blank. And then in the second part of the in the second part of the sentence, I go ahead and mention it. So, in this way, we have done some sort of substitution, but we haven't added anything. So that is substitution by zero. Okay. So with anaphoric ellipsis, the first part of the sentence has been in the first sentence. What is the elliptical item? That is the sentence or the word that we're supposed to fill in that was omitted is not there. Where do we find it in the sentence? In the second part of the sentence. Okay, like when we say, because Alice won't, Mary has to dust the furniture. Because Alice won't, the elliptical item has been omitted, isn't it? Then we go to the second part of the sentence, which says Mary has to do what? Dust the furniture. So obviously in this case, what are we filling in? Dust the furniture. So it was supposed to read, because Alice won't dust the furniture, Mary has to dust the furniture. We're trying to get away from repeating words. Remember, what we're trying to do here is be as economical as we can be with words. Okay, so in the first part of the sentence, there was an omission there. In the second part, it has been mentioned. That is anaphoric ellipsis. And with cataphoric ellipsis, of course, it's going to be the exact opposite. Okay, Mary has to dust the furniture because Alice won't. The omission has happened there. Okay, instead of saying Mary has to dust the furniture because Alice won't dust the furniture. Okay, I hope with anaphoric and cataphoric we are clear there. Then with exophoric, this one happens occasionally. The elliptical item in a sentence, or the elliptical item in a text may be what we say exophoric. In this case, the skipping has happened. The omission of this particular word or sentence or phrase has been done in this text. Okay, except while looking for how to fill it back in, we're not going to find it within the text. Just the way exophoric reference works, that's the same way that exophoric ellipsis works. Okay, in this case, the one that fills it in is the reader, so we are not going to find it if it is written. Then obviously the person who is reading has to fill it in themselves without necessarily having to find it within the text. Okay, I would say, maybe for example, imagine you are in a bar, and then, or let's say you're the bartender, then these people, this particular individual comes to your bar, comes to order drinks. Okay, and they are ordering a particular drink, let's say Castle Light. Okay, so these people have been drinking Castle Light the whole night, and then while they are seated on their side of the table, they scream out to you. Okay, they scream out to you as the bartender, and then they say, two please. Automatically you are going to feel they have not told you two of what. Okay, so you do not know they need two what. Okay, but you, as the person who is on the receiving end, or the person who's the listener, you already understand to say these people have been drinking these types of drinks, so obviously this person wants the drink that they've been drinking, but they want what? Two extra drinks. That is how exophoric ellipsis works. It is the context of situation that provides the information needed. Okay, whereby you don't find the information within the text, but you find the information outside of the text, and you find you find this information on ellipsis on page 144 of Halide and Hassan's book. Let's move on to the types of ellipsis. Okay, so we have three types of ellipsis, that is nominal ellipsis, verbal ellipsis, and clausal ellipsis. Okay, we begin with nominal ellipsis. Nominal ellipsis means the omission of a noun head in a nominal group. So basically, we're doing the omission, we're still doing the omission. Okay, this is ellipsis, we're doing the omission. Okay, so in nominal ellipsis, what are we getting rid of? It is the noun. Okay, or the noun head. Okay, in a nominal group. So we'd say something like, he bought a red car, but I like the blue one. He bought, oh sorry, the blue. He bought a red car, but I like the blue. I'll read that again. He bought a red car, but I like the blue. The nominal group here is as follows. We have pre-modifiers. Okay, we have pre-modifiers. Okay, then we have the head, then post modifiers. So in this case, pre-modifiers, that is he, the head, that is red car, and then the post modifiers, that is the blue. Okay, so what have we omitted there? The blue car, that is the post modifier car at the end of blue. He bought a red car, but I like the blue. In this case, we already know what we're talking about. We already know a red what, a blue what. If you as the listener, you're able to fill in the blanks, then ellipsis was successful. If you're able to fill in the blanks, then the ellipsis was successful, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is be economical with words by trying as much as possible to skip that which me as a reader, or me as the speaker, know that the listener knows. Let's look at this other example here. A question is asked, which one will you wear? Now, I am going to answer, this is the best. That means there's ellipsis that has happened there, because I've skipped a particular noun. I've skipped a particular noun head, which was supposed to be hat. Okay, like in the second one, where I would probably say, this is the best hat. There is no ellipsis there. Okay, or in C, I would say, this is the best of the hats. There is still no ellipsis there. Okay, or maybe I would go ahead and say, this is the best of the three. I have skipped the noun head, meaning ellipsis there has occurred. Or lastly, I would say, this is the best you have. I would still I've still done it in such a way that ellipsis is there. Okay, ellipsis has occurred because there is an omission of a word. Basically, ellipsis is us eliminating or omitting certain words. Okay, nominal ellipsis involves omitting what? Nouns or the noun head. So speaker A asks, have you been swimming? Speaker B would respond, yes, I have. Speaker A asks, have you been swimming? Speaker B responds, yes, I have. Okay, so we ask, what have you been doing? Swimming. So the elliptical item swimming has the features of an infinite positive active present in the past, okay, in present, but none of these selections is shown in its own structure. Okay, they sort of have to be recovered by presupposition. Okay, a verbal group, which in this case is have been swimming, whose structure fully represents all its systematic features, is not elliptical. Okay, it is not elliptical because we have gone back to responding with the verbal item. Okay. Clause or ellipsis. Now, in clause or ellipsis represents the omission of a part of a clause or even all of it. Okay. And this type of ellipsis is often associated with questions and responses in dialogues. This is similar to the verbal ellipsis, except that in clause or ellipsis, it is external to the verb itself, okay, affecting other elements in the structure of the clause. So with clause or ellipsis, we are simply going to skip over the whole clause. In an instance where you have questions and answers, you're going to have a question, the speaker is going to ask you a question. Now, instead of responding by repeating the whole question in form of an answer, you just simply give your answer. Okay, let's look at this example. Okay, say somebody asks, what are they doing? What are they doing? Now, instead of you going back to respond, what they're doing is holding hands, you simply say, they're doing what? Holding hands. So the question would be, what were they doing? The answer comes back as holding hands. Okay? That is when an ellipsis has occurred. Now, when there is no ellipsis, it would sound like this. What were they doing? What they were doing is holding hands. Or what they were doing was holding hands. Or the second example. Okay? The speaker A says, the plane has landed. And speaker B would ask, has it? There, ellipsis has occurred. Okay, if there's no ellipsis, you'd hear something like this. The plane has landed. That's speaker A. Speaker B would respond, has the plane landed?